Now, you heard, I'm sure you've heard some criticism of the president's trade policies from people who ought to know better. Because if you listen to the American media or you listen to a lot of politicians in our own country, they seem desperate to forget the very lessons that made Donald J. Trump the 45th and 47th president of the United States of America. Now, they attack us when we implement trade policies that do a very simple thing, rebalance trade in favor of American workers and American businesses instead of foreign workers and foreign corporations. I've talked to people here today who talk about expanding facilities, building new steelmaking facilities because of the trade policies that Donald J. Trump has implemented. And I'll ask all of you, the workers and the corporate leadership assembled here today, a very simple question. Do you want to ship American jobs off to the People's Republic of China? No. Do you want to rely on foreign corporations to make the things that you need in your homes and your families need every single day? No. So why don't we rebuild America's middle class? Why don't we rebuild American manufacturing? And why don't we rebuild American industry just like you're doing right here? And isn't it nice to have an administration that supports you for a change? So, you see these media personalities, they're pulling their hair out. They're saying, well, you guys, you're going to make it harder to manufacture in China. Isn't that bad? No, it's good. That's exactly what we want to do. They're saying you're going to make it harder for people to bring products in from overseas and undercut the wages of American workers. Exactly. That's exactly what we want to do. They're saying you're going to make it harder for foreign corporations, but you're going to make it easier for American businesses to build great things in America. And I say that's exactly right. That's not something to be sad about. That's not something to complain about. That is something to be proud of. And thank God we've got an administration that's finally looking out for American businesses and the American workers who employ them. Ain't that right? So I'm here today, and I got to tell you, it is such a personally amazing thing for a guy who was born in Middletown, Ohio, who was raised by a 40-year welder at a steel mill, to be able to come to this beautiful facility as the Vice President of the United States. And I can't help, thank you. I can't help but pinch myself that I get to spend the day in beautiful South Carolina with you fine people, pinch myself that I'm the Vice President of the United States, and pinch myself, of course, because I know that this country is still a place of great big American dreams. But it's only going to stay that country if we fight for it, if we fight for the jobs of the people here at this facility, if we fight to make it easier to build upon it and to build great things in the United States of America. I got to be honest with you. The American dream was not built by people selling digital advertisements in Silicon Valley. The American people was built by people like you. The American dream was built by steel makers and auto workers and people who worked with their hands. And I think another thing we got to do is we got to send a message, ladies and gentlemen. I think you all know this better than I do, but I learned a little bit today that you all don't just work with your hands, you work with your heads in amazing ways. This is an incredibly high-tech facility. I'm sure you all are amazed at how much you can do. You got about 1,000 workers here, and they're earning great wages and doing a great job. How much those 1,000 workers can do to build the American dream of the future. It's an amazing thing. And so I think we got to send messages to our young people that the most interesting work, the work that's going to challenge your mind but also allow you to work with your hands, is found at American steel mills right here at Nucor Berkeley in South Carolina. I was sitting down at Seth's terminal. I thought, this guy is not a steel mill worker. He's operating a spaceship, because there's like 14 very complicated screens in front of me, and I felt like Homer Simpson. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was like, Seth, you got to get back in this chair or we're going to cause some serious problems. But what it made me realize is that technology, technology, we use this term, we think about it as the iPhones that we have in our pocket or the screen that we stare at when a lot of our knowledge workers are going to work, but technology is happening right here at a steelmaking facility in Nucor, in Berkeley, in South Carolina. That's technology of the future. The great technology of the future, I don't think it's going to be people, sitting around staring at their iPhones. The technology of the future is going to be building great things, but doing it in a new way, doing it with new, incredible facilities, with safer facilities, with people who know, again, how to use their minds, but also use their hands. And I think that is the high-tech future. People criticize. I get sick sometimes of the press. They say that Donald J. Trump wants to bring back the jobs of the past. And I don't think anything could be further from the truth, because I again, was raised by a man who worked at a steel mill of the past. But I guarantee if I went to that steel mill today, it's owned by Cleveland-Cliffs. Sorry, that's a competitor. But they're a good company, too. We can spread the love around. But I guarantee if I went to that facility today, or when I go to this facility here in Berkeley, I don't see the steel mill jobs of the past. I see the steel mill jobs of the future. I see technology allowing us to do something today that my grandfather, God love him, wasn't doing 40 years ago at Armco Steel in Middletown, Ohio. And I know that's how we're going to win the future. That's how we're going to beat the Chinese. That's how we're going to beat every single competitor that America faces. It's going to be by doing great things like what you're doing here at Nucor Steel. And never let anybody tell you that this is not high tech. This is the highest tech industry maybe that I've ever seen, and you're building the America of the future, not the America of the past. So let me just close by saying, my friends, I think that the great American manufacturing comeback has begun, and the world has started to take notice. In just 100 days, the president has attracted trillions of dollars in commitments for new investment in America, including some from Nucor Steel. Just yesterday, we saw that business investment in the first quarter of the United States economy, business investment grew by 22%. That was just in a few short months. That's a big number. And we know that with all this additional investment is going to come hundreds of thousands of new, high-paying, high-quality jobs. We're going to see new jobs in artificial intelligence, in deep-water oil production, in chip fabrication, in pharmaceutical factories, research labs, supercomputing facilities, and, of course, in great American-made steel. But the idea is very simple, and the principle is even simpler, that we want to grow up in a country. We want our children to grow up in a country where the things that they need are made by their neighbors and not by foreigners who hate their guts, where the critical components of American industry are built right here in the United States of America, not in some far-flung region of the world that we can't depend on, and where American jobs for people who are willing to work hard and play by the rules, pay a solid wage, allow you to buy a home and start a family, and where you're proud every single day, just like my grandfather was, of the things that you built with your hands, but also with